Alright, so bad noise number 2. That's probably going to be clicking. So we got some chimes. And all it is just enough that you can start to engage the starter, but not enough to turn it. Oh, the joys of batteries. Alright. So, my truck's a little bit of a special animal. So instead of the 5.3, I swapped in a 6-liter. And then it's got a built 4060 tranny behind it. And then I converted it to electric fans. And really I need to clean up this wiring job. But I'll get to it someday. So whenever you're dealing with batteries, you want to make sure you've got enough power, and maybe you're dealing with, you know, something special where you've got a stereo or something like that. But the big thing for me is that I wanted dual terminals on this one. So your standard GM terminals are up here. So those are normally 8mm bolts and stuff like that. And these are kind of a pain in the butt to try and get additional rings on and stuff like that in order to power it. So I opted to get a dual terminal battery. So this has the GM terminals plus like a normal set of terminals up top, which allowed me to basically bolt in the fans in a faster, easier method instead of having to try and have these caught underneath those 8mm bolts, which aren't very long. You can get extended ones, but it comes down to one of those things where, you know, in the long run, I think this will work out better because I'm able to have more separation, I guess. So basically, in case there's a problem, I can isolate this off. So if the fans are drawing too much power for some weird reason, I can just disconnect this and it's done. Or if I wanted to add some sort of like fog light system or something, I can add it to this terminal. That way, the bulk of the car gets its power through the original terminals, and anything additional gets power through the additional ports. So, but battery wise, I'd recommend buying a battery that makes sense for your vehicle. So there's different group sizes. So this is a 34 and a 78 group. So it's a group 34 or a group 78. And then this dash 72 is basically same thing with the DT. It's part of the nomenclature for Fleet Farm's version of this battery. And then these are Roadrunners, if I remember right. Yep. So like you could put an AGM battery in, which is a fancier battery as opposed to like the standard lead acid batteries. And the AGM batteries are pretty cool, but one of the big things for me is warranty. So this one has a 72-month prorated warranty. The first 2 years is free replacement. But the problem is that just because your battery's dead doesn't mean your battery's bad. Now, with how I've tried charging this a couple times and it's not taking a charge, I'm willing to bet it probably has either a bad cell or one of the electrical components I have sitting on here is pulling a draw. That's helping to kill it faster. So, but either way, I'm going to try and take this battery in and get it warranted. If you've got this body style of truck, even the cat's eye style Silverado, more than likely the battery stuff's going to be pretty similar to this. So you need 10mm bolts or 10mm wrench or a socket. Take this off to remove this little cross bracing thing here. And then there's a 13mm bolt down there. Then, as I mentioned before, these are 8mm. And so this 10mm I used to remove these. This 8, so the little stubby 8, I used on these. And the reason why I used the little stubby one is that this just threads into the lead here in the battery. So that's pre-threaded, but it's one of those things where you're just threading into lead, and it's very soft. So you don't want to over torque it. So just using a smaller wrench can help you, you know, kind of fight the urge to tighten it a whole lot. But once you get those out, the battery just lifts out. The Fleet Farm was all out of those batteries, so I had to go to O'Reilly's. And the O'Reilly one's a little bit more expensive and only has a 2-year free replacement. So a little bit different warranties. Now, one of the reasons why you want to take the batteries out and kind of compare them is that, like, let's say they didn't have the battery that you were looking for. Not all the batteries are held down the same way. So this one's held down with that little lip down at the bottom. Some batteries have like a deep inset lip. Some have that's almost like a lip that just sits on the outside of it. And it works by having that 13mm bolt goes down through here and applies pressure there to help hold it in place. And there should be a little lip on the back side too. That little lip catches on this little lip here on the battery tray. So in here, you'll have the lip that catches in the back. There's where the bolt hole is for this, and that sits right there. Then, if you look, there's little grooves here. Those grooves help to move this forward to apply pressure. All right, so I got that bolt tightened down, and battery's good and in there. And then I recommend leaving the caps on the top until you get everything all tightened in, just in case you wind up touching something and hitting one of those and causing an arc in some way, shape, or form, in case you wind up getting a dual terminal one. So take these off last whenever you're ready to do the last little bit. Okay, so I got the little 8mm ones in and tight. Just remember, it's just little 8mm bolts going into lead, so be very careful. And I swear they're the bane of my existence. And the reason why is because no matter what, I'm always questioning whether or not it's tight enough. And I'm always a little worried that I'm going to over tighten it. Because in a lot of places, if you over tighten this and you wind up messing that up, they won't warranty the battery because you messed up the installation. So just remember, little tiny 8mm bolt, sometimes a little tiny wrench, reduces the amount of torque you can put on it. So it feels like you're putting a lot on, and it might satisfy that little bit in your brain that goes, it's good and tight. So, but as long as the cables don't wiggle, probably pretty good. Alright, so that's pretty much it for the truck. I put these on, same thing as with the other terminals and the ones on the G8. Don't tighten these super tight. You don't need them to be super tight. Just tighten them enough so they don't wiggle or move. Because if you over tighten them, then you wind up having to replace these the more that you take them loose and put them back on. Because either it'll stress something out or it'll stretch something and it'll wind up cracking or breaking, and then you'll wind up having more problems. Because like if you look at this bolt might be stainless steel or it might be something else, but there's a good chance that bolt's not super duper conductive. So it's probably one meant for hardness and one meant to be just to make sure everything holds. Whereas this metal here is probably a softer metal and meant to be very conductive. So even though that bolt can take quite a tightening, it doesn't mean that this piece here can take that. So, but that's pretty much how I do the battery in my Silverado. So I've got the main system stuff back here hooked up, the auxiliary fan, well the cooling fan stuff, all the add-ons separate, that way it's off to the side. We'll give her a quick fire up. Now this truck is a little funny. just because this year had a cable throttle body, but it still has like sensors and stuff that have to set kind of like the first time you go to fire it up. So I'll fire it up real quick like that, and then hopefully it learned where the throttle body stuff was, and then this next time it'll idle fine. Alright, so today was a pretty good day. We got the truck all done, we got the G8 all done, batteries are changed, everything's up and running, nothing weird hopefully is gonna go on. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll check you guys next time. Now I gotta go to O'Reilly, return the battery, get my core. $18, here I come.